I'm going to have to pick up on that one, and if anybody cares enough, because it is important to you, because no one's immune to mind control and hypnosis. But I gave some background there because I wrote about mind control, and I got a letter from the U.S. Well, I don't know what's going on out there now. Wow. Got a letter from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Atlanta about an ongoing investigation because of the book I was, well, I thought it was because of the book I did. It was because of who I am. I found out in '83. But that really bothers me. I don't know what that is out there. It went off the alarm. It was outside my door. But anyway, we got the letter of June the 23rd of '79 from William Harper, the U.S. Attorney there in Atlanta, issued by the FBI. And, you know, that didn't seem to help. I didn't know about my real name and being kidnapped, and I attributed it all the things that problems that were being done to my children. They were terrorizing us. I attributed it to doing the book. I didn't know till '83 that I'd been kidnapped. So I want to, I hope I haven't lost it here in switching from one tape to the other. I'm going to show you a picture, and then I'm going to get into what I really started to say here, too. This is my dad, the real King Edward VIII, and the double that married Wallace Simpson. Now, I showed my father, the double that married Wallace Simpson. I showed my Uncle George VI with Roosevelt in '39 when I was born, planning my kidnapping in '41. I showed Georgia O'Keeffe, my aunt, Irish American Catholic, and I want to show Elizabeth, and who's illegal. And she's living on my money and my hell, and the hell that Great Britain has gone through since she's given signed illegal treaties that her and her father that allowed U.S. military bases all over everything British, and they used it for a launching pad. And here's Caroline now, the daughter of John Kennedy, who her grandfather and her father helped in my kidnapping. And I want to go ahead and show. Hustler magazine where I was flown up there to Larry Flint's, because the guy that shot him was programmed to shoot him in Lawrenceville, Georgia, while I was doing the book, and I put this on the prior tape. Oh, now I'm going to show here. I'm going to show here some of the mind control murders that have happened since '77 and '78. When I did the book, I was telling about how it was done. Now it's much more sophisticated and easy to do. Um, but in '77, it was murders and use of mind control prior to then. Uh, so I'm going to show you these, which all of you should be aware of: the Sandy Hook, the Adam Lonzo, which is a victim of mind control himself. He didn't know he was going to commit the murders. My God, he killed his own mother, um, and everybody hates him. He's a victim. This you can't get across to people unless it happens to them. And I'll quote that in a minute from an FBI. Well, I'm going to go ahead and quote it. Agent Noe, FBI, supposed to be retired, who I look back and I remember having a photograph of him in '62 when my husband worked for Brown Engineering Space in Huntsville, Alabama, NASA. But he worked for Brown Engineering. It was private at the time, doing space contracts. Agent Noe, if that's his name, Noe, was photographed there with my husband and me. And when they handed papers, insurance papers, that was like a diagnosis murder to me, but I can't put all that in here now. But he was in Grottoes, Virginia now, and this is 84 and 85, and he's supposed to have retired there. And by the way, his wife would never get out of the car. He came in many times, and I would pump the gas, and he'd come in and pay for it. And he told me she had worked in personnel for J. Edgar Hoover. Now then, he started talking to me, and he said, they've made it so ludicrous, he's speaking of the FBI, that everyone knows you're telling the truth, and they are given the option of helping you or walking away. And in my case, they all walked, or tried to get rid of me, kill the messenger. Now then, another agent, this is in 82. I was in their office after being given the antifreeze, and God knows, working for the DA, and I was put on the street, freezing, no home, couldn't find my kids, nothing. Mark and Scott, who are heirs after me. But the agent set me down, and he said to me, and he pretended he was yawning. He says, you know what people do with this when you're telling it? He said, and he yawned, and he said it bores them. It's not until they find how it affects them that they care. So I'm going to show you these, and then I'm going to show you like the Simpson and the Warren house that I live in, Warren Commission that covered it up, and the Kennedys had kidnapped me from England, and Simpson my father was supposed to marry Simpson, and that was a lie. It was a double that was used. Now, they did all this to my father, to me, and it was done to the British citizens by the United States and members of my own family. I just want to show here the Giffords. And this has to do with, they've used things surrounding me, like my son's names are Mark and Scott. And my son I'm going to go ahead and tell this now and then show you the other. One of my sons, Mark, was first born and heir, and then Scott. And I thought that I'd been given the name of a twin when I was brought here from Buckingham Palace and dropped off at age 2. And I grew up using that name and thinking I was the twin, although I always knew something was bad and wrong with the whole scenario. But when Scott, my second born, I gave him the name, and I'm sorry I did, Scott Preston, after the twin. Carl Preston was his name, Dempsey. And the name given me was Peggy Ann Dempsey, and I married a Childers. My husband later told me, because he was meant to marry me. It was already set out. And he told me after then he had changed the boys' names. So I hope he did, because they should be Mark and Scott Windsor, because that's their names. So anyway, here's this. I'm going to connect this in a minute. If you haven't, I want to add this. It's not just, it's the time and place and timeline, all this, the synchronicity in it. But O.J. Simpson was one of the mind control murders. So here's the Sandy Hook, and the Fort Hood shooter was a psychiatrist born here in Roanoke, Benton, Virginia, and he went to school at Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, where the 33 shootings happened on April the 16th of 07. And the shooter from South Korea shot himself, and he's acting under command. And then the state of Virginia Supreme Court said he was delusional. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness, and this is what's the sad thing that's happening there. They're using mental illness to torture these people they have placed under mind control. And they're giving them psychotic drugs, and then these victims themselves of mind control are being given